In 1995, 6 teenage cheerleaders vanished after a school competition. No ransom, no suspects, just silence. Then 20 years later, a hiker in the Arizona desert stumbles on a rusted suitcase, and what's inside sends a wave of terror through a town that thought it had moved on. A buried uniform, a blood-stained ribbon, and a secret someone was willing to kill to keep hidden. It was supposed to be just another high school trip. Pom-poms, pep talks, late-night snacks, and the energy of teenage girls who believed the world was theirs to own. On March 18, 1995, the Glendale High Cheer Squad, 6 girls between the ages of 14 and 17, left for a regional competition in Flagstaff, Arizona. They won second place, celebrated with milkshakes, called their parents, laughed on the motel balcony, and then they were gone, all 6 of them, vanished without a sound. The next morning, their van was still parked outside the motel. Their uniforms folded neatly on their beds. No struggle, no note. Just the eerie stillness of things left behind. Police launched a statewide search. Helicopters circled canyons. Dogs combed the brush. Parents flooded the media with photos of smiling daughters. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Then years. The town eventually stopped asking what happened. There were no leads, no suspects, and too many rumors. The police quietly closed the case as a presumed runaway, even though 6 girls don't run away at the same time from the same room without their shoes. But one mother never stopped searching. Her name was Teresa Caldwell. Her daughter Mandy was the team captain. Smart, outspoken, a fighter. For 20 years, Teresa called detectives every birthday, every anniversary. Please, she'd say, reopen the file. Check the DNA again. Look at the janitor, the bus driver, the assistant coach. Look at me if you have to, but don't let them vanish. Most years they ignored her. Some years they humored her. Until the day a man named Kyle Jennings went hiking near the Devil's Wash trailhead just south of the Grand Canyon. It was July. Blistering heat. He was off course and running out of water when he saw something metallic buried in the red dirt. A rusted suitcase. He thought it might be junk or a survival kit someone left behind. But when he opened it, his breath caught. Inside a cheerleading uniform, blood-stained, and beneath it a human jawbone. Kyle staggered back, called 911, and waited 3 hours until a rescue team arrived. The moment forensics ran tests, the results came back with a name, Mandy Caldwell. It took 20 years, but Mandy had been found. That night, Teresa dropped to her knees in her living room and sobbed. Grief, relief, horror, and something else, purpose, flooded her body. She stood up, looked at the sky, and whispered, "We're not done." The other 5 girls were still missing. The suitcase was only the beginning. Police reopened the case. Questions poured in. How did the suitcase end up miles from Flagstaff? Who buried it? And why now? Detectives traced old witness reports, revisited dusty tapes, and dug through hotel records. A single security camera tape, nearly destroyed by age and heat, showed something shocking. At 2:13 a.m. The night the girls vanished, a man wearing a maintenance uniform entered their room. He was never questioned, never identified, until now. A former hotel janitor named Curtis Dennehy. Fired in late 1995, no forwarding address. The FBI tracked him to a cabin outside Jerome, Arizona, off the grid. When agents arrived, Curtis tried to flee. In his backyard, they found a metal fire pit. Inside, human remains. DNA confirmed 2 of the missing girls. Curtis was arrested. But in questioning, he claimed innocence. "They weren't mine," he said. "Someone gave them to me, told me to bury them and never speak." The investigation widened. They searched his house. And in a crawl space beneath the floor, they found an old shoebox. Inside, photographs. Dozens. Each of the 6 girls, posed, unconscious. Some with makeup, some without. Dates written in red pen. 1995, 1996, 1997. Long after they had supposedly disappeared, it became clear at least some of the girls had been kept alive for years. Curtis wasn't the mastermind. He was the mule. Detectives discovered a list of names, coded initials only, but one caught their attention. MT. Payoff received. Final transfer pending. MT matched one name, Mark Travers, a wealthy Flagstaff businessman, former PTA president, and one-time donor to the Glendale High Athletic Fund. When confronted, Mark denied everything. But inside his lakeside cabin hidden in the paneling was a VHS tape, a home video, labeled simply Practice. It showed the cheerleaders blindfolded dancing on command, flinching at loud sounds. It was grainy, cruel, and ended with a chilling whisper. "They're perfect." The final girl, Brittany Lang, was found alive, hidden inside a storage unit 2 counties over, locked in a padded room. She was 38 years old, malnourished, scarred, but alive. Her first words to the rescue team were, "Is Mandy okay?" She thought it was still 1997. The town erupted in shock. Media flooded in. Candlelight vigils returned. The 5 families who had once grieved in isolation now stood together, bound by the shared truth that evil had walked among them unnoticed for decades. Mark Travers was arrested. His empire collapsed. He pled not guilty, but the evidence was undeniable. And when Brittany testified, her voice trembling but her spine straight, she pointed directly at him. He was the one who picked us. The courtroom fell silent. After all these years, the truth wasn't just revealed. It was spoken, loud, public, and undeniable. The cheerleaders' names were etched into a memorial at Glendale High, and Mandy Caldwell. Her blood had led them all home. In the months that followed, Brittany began to rebuild her life. Slowly, tenderly. She had missed everything: graduation, friends, her own mother's funeral. But she hadn't missed her second chance. She moved into a small apartment on the edge of town close to Teresa. The two of them became inseparable, bound not just by trauma, but by survival. Every Tuesday, Brittany visited the memorial. She'd sit on the stone bench, bring flowers for the girls who didn't make it, and talk to them like they were still there. Sometimes she'd laugh, sometimes she'd cry. Always she stayed. And Teresa. She started a foundation in Mandy's name, a scholarship fund for girls who showed strength under pressure, for those who stood tall when it would have been easier to disappear. The fund was named the 6 Lights Project because even in the darkest canyon, 6 lights still glow. As for Mark Travers, he was convicted on multiple counts of kidnapping, abuse, and conspiracy. He never confessed, never apologized. But in the eyes of the community, silence was no longer enough to keep secrets buried. Because one day a hiker wandered off trail and unearthed a suitcase, and inside it, the truth. The kind of truth that no one expected, no one wanted, and yet no one could look away from. It was a symbol of what was lost and what was found, and proof that even decades later, voices still cry out from the dust. Somewhere in the Arizona desert, a wooden cross still stands not far from where the rusted suitcase was found. Hikers pass it sometimes. Most don't know the full story. They might pause, wonder, take a photo. But for those who do know, it's not just a marker. It's a reminder. That silence has weight. That grief can echo through decades. And that justice, even when delayed, is never too late. Back in Glendale, the high school gym now carries 6 golden stars embedded in the floor, placed at the edge of the cheer squad practice space. Every morning, the new team stretches there. And every afternoon, they leave with those names under their feet, not forgotten, but carried. As for Teresa, she still keeps Mandy's old cheer uniform in a cedar box beneath her bed. She doesn't open it often. But on nights when the wind howls through the trees or the news reminds her of other missing children, she opens it and holds the fabric to her heart. "Your voice still matters," she whispers. It always did. And now the world knows it too. Years later, a journalist writing a book about the case visited Brittany Lang. By then, she had become an advocate for missing persons, giving talks in schools and appearing on panels about trauma recovery. When asked how she had survived, she paused, sipped her tea, and answered quietly, "Because someone remembered me." She didn't say Teresa's name. She didn't have to. The journalist asked if she had any message for the families of the thousands of children still missing. Brittany nodded. "Don't stop looking. Even if the whole world moves on, don't." Outside her window, a breeze stirred the curtains. On the wall above her desk, 6 framed portraits hung side by side, each girl smiling. Forever 1995. They weren't just a cold case, they weren't a mystery, they were a promise. That someone would one day hear them, that someone would bring them back. And now they had been heard. When the verdict came in life without parole, there was no cheering in the courtroom, no clapping, no celebration, only silence, heavy, reverent. The kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Brittany sat beside Teresa, her hands tightly clasped, knuckles white. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just stared ahead, eyes locked on the man who had taken her childhood and turned it into shadows. He never looked at her, not once. After court adjourned, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed. The world wanted a statement. They got one, just not from Brittany. Teresa stepped to the microphones. "My daughter didn't die in vain," she said. Mandy's voice. Mandy's spirit led us to the truth. And to every mother still waiting for answers, let me tell you, your voice matters too. Keep speaking. Keep fighting. We hear you. Her words spread like wildfire. The story dominated headlines for weeks. Cheerleader case reopened. After 20 years, missing girls found survivor. Breaks her silence. But beneath the sensationalism, something else was growing. A movement. Parents across the country demanded old cases be reopened. Cold case departments saw record funding. Volunteers created a searchable database for the first time, matching school records with missing persons. One detective from Texas wrote, "The Glendale case reminded us evil doesn't just hide. Sometimes it waits." For Brittany, healing wasn't instant. There were nightmares, flashbacks, days she couldn't leave the house, nights she screamed herself awake. But there were also milestones. The first time she rode in a car without shaking. The first time she walked into a grocery store alone. The first time she laughed, really laughed, watching a comedy show with Teresa. And then came the day she visited the school. Glendale High had changed in 20 years, but the gym was the same. The echoes, the polished floors, the scent of wood and chalk and nostalgia. A cheer team was practicing. When they noticed her standing at the doorway, one of the girls waved. "You're her, aren't you?" the girl asked. Brittany smiled. "I am." The coach called for a break. The team huddled around her, asking questions not about the horror, but about who she was before. What music she liked. What stunts she was best at. What advice she'd give them. Brittany laughed. "Trust your gut. And never let anyone dim your fire." They invited her to stay and watch. She sat on the bleachers with her hands in her lap, smiling quietly as the girls flipped and danced and shouted. Their voices echoed through the rafters, strong, joyful, free. Later that night, she told Teresa, "It felt like coming home to a version of myself I thought was gone." Teresa didn't respond. She just hugged her, tightly, as if to say, "You were never gone, not really." That weekend, Brittany started writing. A book, a memoir. Not just about what happened to her, but about all 6 girls, who they were, what they dreamed of. The dumb jokes they told in motel rooms. The way Mandy used to braid everyone's hair and sing off-key. She called the book We Were Here, because they were, and because some people need reminding. A year later, the Glendale Civic Center held a candlelight ceremony on the anniversary of the girls' disappearance. Over 600 people showed up, teachers, old classmates, community leaders, and strangers who had only heard about the story through headlines. Each attendee carried a candle. At exactly 8:43 p.m., the last known time the girls were seen, lights were dimmed and 6 young cheerleaders from the current team stepped onto the stage. They each held up a photograph of one of the missing girls. For 1 minute, the room was silent. Then Teresa took the stage. She didn't speak from a script. She simply looked at the crowd and said, "Thank you for remembering them. And thank you for believing me, even when no one else did." Her voice cracked. Brittany stood behind her, hand on her shoulder. Someone in the crowd started clapping, then another, then the entire room. But Teresa didn't smile. She cried, not tears of sorrow, but of release, because the silence was over. That night, Brittany walked to the memorial alone. She placed 6 fresh white lilies on the stone. She lit a candle. The wind threatened to blow it out, but she shielded the flame with her hand. She whispered the names: Mandy, Jess, Lena, Tasha, Renee, Kelsey. And then she said, "I'm still here, and I'll tell your story every day of my life, because the world should never forget how bright you were, or how far your light still reaches." The flame danced in the night, and somewhere beyond sound and time, maybe those 6 voices echoed back. If this story moved you, if you felt the weight of silence, the power of truth, or the strength of those who never gave up, don't let it end here. Leave a comment below. What part of this story stayed with you the most? Like this video to honor every family still waiting for answers. Subscribe to Tim's Stories for more true stories that remind us how far love, memory, and courage can reach. And turn on notifications, because some stories deserve to be told and never forgotten.